There is a moment in a person's life when things stop feeling the same. The same distractions don't excite you. The same conversations feel empty. The same habits start to feel heavy. And you don't understand why. You look around and everyone else seems comfortable, but something inside you has shifted. Listen carefully. This is not confusion. This is not boredom. This is not you losing interest in life. This is Allah pulling your heart away from what no longer belongs to you. Not everyone feels this. Most people stay asleep their entire lives, chasing, consuming, distracting themselves until the end reaches them. But a very few, begin to feel something different. A discomfort with dunya, a sensitivity to sin, a longing for something deeper. If you are feeling this, then understand what it means. Allah is not rejecting you. Allah is selecting you. One guidance does not begin with knowledge. It begins with discomfort. You think guidance starts when you learn something new, when you watch a lecture, when you read Quran. But that's not where it truly begins. It begins with discomfort. And not the obvious kind of discomfort like pain or loss. It begins with something quieter, something harder to explain, a feeling that something is off, even when everything around you looks fine. You could be sitting in the same room, with the same people, doing the same things you've always done, but inside, something doesn't sit right anymore. You try to ignore it at first. You tell yourself you're just overthinking. You try to go back to your normal routine. You open your phone, scroll, watch something, laugh at something, but the feeling doesn't fully go away. It fades for a moment, then comes back again. That's the part most people misunderstand. They think discomfort means something is wrong with their life, but in many cases, it means something is finally becoming right. Because when Allah begins to guide a person, He doesn't always start by giving them clarity. He starts by removing their false comfort. Think about it honestly. If you were completely satisfied with your current life, if everything felt enjoyable, fulfilling, and stable, why would you ever change? Why would you question your habits? Why would you reflect on your purpose? Why would you turn back to Allah with sincerity? You wouldn't. Comfort keeps people where they are. So Allah, out of mercy, disturbs that comfort. He makes the things you once loved feel empty. He reduces the sweetness of distractions. He allows you to see the reality behind things you used to enjoy without thinking. And suddenly, what once felt normal starts to feel meaningless. This is not punishment. This is interruption. An interruption to a life that was moving in the wrong direction. And this is where most people fail the test. Because instead of understanding the message, they try to escape the feeling. They increase the noise in their life. More entertainment, more social media, more conversations, more distractions. Anything to avoid sitting with that discomfort. But the more they run, the more it follows them. Because this feeling is not coming from your environment. It's coming from your soul. Your soul is no longer satisfied with surface-level living. It is no longer at peace with being disconnected from Allah. And once that awareness begins, you cannot fully go back to the old version of yourself. You can try, but it won't feel the same. And that is exactly the point. Allah is not allowing you to settle. He is not letting you get comfortable in a state that is harmful to you in the long run. So that restlessness you feel, that quiet dissatisfaction, that sense that something deeper is missing, is not something to suppress. It is something to pay attention to, because it is guiding you. Look at how your behavior starts to change when this feeling becomes stronger. You begin to question things you never questioned before. You start noticing how much time you waste. You start realizing how certain habits are affecting you. You begin to feel uncomfortable with things you once accepted easily. This is the beginning of awareness. And awareness is the first step toward real change. But here's where you need to be careful. Don't romanticize the discomfort, and don't misunderstand it either. Not every uncomfortable feeling is guidance. Sometimes discomfort comes from stress, from poor habits, from lack of discipline. So you have to look at the direction this feeling is pushing you. Is it pushing you toward reflection, toward improvement, toward Allah? Or is it pushing you toward negativity, hopelessness, and confusion? Real guidance always pulls you upward, even if it feels heavy at first. It makes you more honest with yourself. It makes you more aware of your actions. It makes you think about your purpose, your time, your relationship with Allah. It doesn't just make you feel bad. It makes you want to become better, and that's the difference. So when you feel this kind of discomfort, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it for a moment. Ask yourself real questions. Why does this feel empty now? Why does this no longer satisfy me? What am I avoiding? What do I actually need? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary, because the answers will start showing you the direction you need to move in. And understand something very clearly. Guidance is not a sudden transformation where everything becomes perfect overnight. It is a process, a slow shift, a series of realizations, decisions, and changes that build over time. And this discomfort, this is where it starts. It's the first push, the first signal that your current state is no longer acceptable. So instead of fighting it, use it. Let it break your attachment to things that are holding you back. Let it expose the emptiness of distractions. Let it push you toward something real, something meaningful, something lasting. Because the goal is not to feel comfortable again in the same way. The goal is to find a different kind of peace. A peace that doesn't depend on distractions. A peace that doesn't disappear when circumstances change. A peace that comes from being aligned with your purpose and connected to Allah. And that kind of peace always begins with discomfort. So if you are feeling it right now, don't panic. Don't numb it, and don't run from it. Understand it. Because this might be the exact moment where your guidance is beginning. 2. Your heart is being cleaned. And that process feels heavy. When a person begins to change, they expect it to feel peaceful immediately. They expect clarity, motivation, and ease. But that's not how real transformation works, especially not when it comes to the heart. Because your heart is not empty. It has been collecting things for years. Habits, distractions, sins, attachments, emotional patterns, ways of thinking, all of it builds up over time. And the longer it stays, the deeper it settles. So when Allah begins to guide someone, He does not simply place light into the heart while everything else stays the same. He begins a process of removal. And removal feels heavy. This is where many people get confused. They think something is wrong with them because they suddenly feel more aware of their mistakes. They feel more guilt than before. They notice things in themselves that they used to ignore. They become more sensitive to what they say, what they watch, how they behave. And instead of seeing this as growth, they think they are becoming weaker. But the reality is the opposite. You are not becoming weaker. You are becoming aware. Before, you could go through your day without reflecting. You could make mistakes without thinking twice. You could ignore your actions and move on without any internal reaction. That is not strength. That is numbness. Now, your heart is reacting. Now, your heart is no longer silent. And that reaction is a sign that something inside you is alive. The Prophet ﷺ explained that when a person commits a sin, a black mark appears on the heart. If the person continues without turning back, those marks increase until the heart becomes covered. At that point, the person stops recognizing right from wrong clearly. They become comfortable in things that should disturb them. But when a person turns back, when they feel regret, When they seek forgiveness, those marks are wiped away. Think about what that means. The discomfort you feel after doing something wrong is not there to break you, it is there to clean you. But cleaning is not a smooth process. It involves friction. It involves facing things you avoided. It involves acknowledging parts of yourself that you didn't want to look at. That's why it feels heavy. You might sit alone and suddenly remember something you said, something you did, something you allowed, and it bothers you. You feel regret. You feel uneasy. You wish you could go back and fix it. And part of you might say, "Why am I thinking like this now? I never used to care this much." Exactly. You didn't care before. Now you do. And that shift is not random. It is Allah softening your heart. But here's where you need to be careful. Don't let this awareness turn into self-destruction. Don't take that guilt and turn it into hopelessness. Shaitan will try to use this exact moment against you. He will whisper things like, "Look at you, you've done too much, you're not good enough, you keep failing anyway." And if you listen to that, you will turn a moment of purification into a reason to give up. That's not what this feeling is for. Guilt in Islam has a purpose. It is meant to push you back toward Allah, not away from Him. So when you feel that heaviness, don't just sit in it, act on it. Make istighfar. Correct what you can. Change what you're able to change. Take one step forward, even if it's small, because the value of this moment is not in how bad you feel. It's in what you do next. And understand something deeper. As your heart becomes cleaner, your standards begin to rise. Things that once felt acceptable will no longer feel right. Conversations that once entertained you will start to drain you. Environments that once felt normal will start to feel uncomfortable. This is not you becoming too sensitive. This is your heart recalibrating. You are starting to see things with more clarity. You are starting to feel the weight of your choices. You are starting to recognize what brings you closer to Allah and what pulls you away. And naturally, that awareness creates tension, because part of you is still attached to old habits, while another part of you is trying to move forward. That internal conflict is real, and it's part of the process. Don't expect it to disappear overnight. Don't expect yourself to become perfect instantly. What matters is direction, not perfection. Are you moving toward Allah or away from Him? That's the question. And if this heaviness is making you reflect, making you regret, making you want to improve, then you are moving in the right direction. Even if it doesn't feel easy, even if you struggle, even if you fall sometimes. Because the difference now is, you don't stay down comfortably anymore. Your heart pulls you back up. And that is something not everyone has. There are people who can live years without feeling any internal resistance to their actions. They justify everything. They normalize everything. They silence any voice inside them that tries to question their behavior. But you can't do that anymore. And that is not a burden. That is protection. Allah is not allowing your heart to become dead. He is keeping it awake. So don't hate the heaviness. Understand it. Because this weight you feel right now is part of your heart being cleaned. And once that process continues, what comes after it is something far more valuable than temporary comfort. It is clarity. It is sincerity. And eventually, it is peace. 3. You are losing interest in people because your dependence is being broken. This is one of the hardest shifts to understand, and one of the easiest to misinterpret. You start noticing that something has changed in the way you relate to people. Conversations that once felt exciting now feel forced. Being around certain people feels draining instead of energizing. You don't feel the same urge to constantly check your phone, reply instantly, or stay connected all the time. And, naturally, you question yourself. You wonder, what's wrong with me? Am I becoming distant? Am I losing people? Am I turning cold? No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is deeper than that. Your dependence is being broken. Before this shift, a large part of your emotional state was tied to people. How they treated you, how they responded to you, how much attention they gave you. All of that influenced how you felt. If they were present, you felt okay. If they pulled away, you felt anxious. If they approved of you, you felt valued. If they ignored you, you felt rejected. Your heart was constantly reacting because it was attached. And attachment to people at that level is unstable by nature. Because people change, their moods change, their priorities change, their presence in your life changes. And when your emotional state depends on something that constantly shifts, you will always feel unstable. So, when Allah begins to guide someone, one of the things He does is reduce that dependence. Not by forcing you to hate people, not by turning you into someone isolated or disconnected, but by slowly removing the illusion that people can fulfill your heart completely. He shows you their limitations. He allows you to feel the inconsistency. He lets you experience the emotional ups and downs that come from relying too much on others, until you begin to realize something for yourself. This cannot be the source of my peace. And once that realization starts forming, your behavior naturally changes. You stop chasing the same level of attention. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop trying to maintain connections that feel one-sided or empty. You begin to value your time, your energy, your space. But here's where it becomes uncomfortable, because as your attachment decreases, you feel a kind of emptiness. You're not getting the same emotional highs from people anymore. You're not constantly engaged, constantly distracted, constantly occupied by others. And for a moment, it feels like something is missing. That feeling is the space that was previously filled by dependence. And now that it's empty, it feels unfamiliar. This is where many people make a mistake. They rush to fill that space again. They go back to old patterns. They force conversations. They reconnect in unhealthy ways. They try to recreate the same emotional dependency just to avoid that emptiness. But if you do that, you interrupt the process, because that space is not meant to be filled by people again in the same way. It is meant to be redirected toward Allah. Understand this clearly. Islam does not teach you to cut off people completely or become isolated from society. Relationships matter, family matters, community matters, but your heart, your core dependence, should not belong to creation. It should belong to the Creator, because only Allah is constant. Only Allah is fully aware of you. Only Allah can carry the weight of your heart without failing you. And until your heart starts turning in that direction, you will keep experiencing instability. So what you're feeling right now is not loss. It is transition. You are moving from emotional dependence on people to emotional reliance on Allah. And transitions are never smooth. You will feel moments of loneliness, moments where you miss how things used to feel, moments where you question if you're doing the right thing. That's normal, because you are leaving behind something familiar, even if it wasn't healthy. But don't confuse loneliness with emptiness. Loneliness is just the absence of people. Emptiness is the absence of purpose. And right now, what you are experiencing is not emptiness. It is space being created for something more stable, more real, more lasting. So instead of rushing to fill it, learn to sit with it. Use that time to reflect, to connect with Allah, to understand yourself better, to build a sense of internal stability that does not depend on constant external interaction. Because once you develop that, your relationships will also change for the better. You will no longer approach people from a place of need. You will approach them from a place of balance. You will value connection but you will not depend on it for your sense of worth or peace. And that changes everything. You become calmer, more selective, more intentional. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop chasing what is not meant for you. You stop fearing the loss of people because your foundation is no longer built on them. But again, this takes time. There will be moments where you slip back into old habits, moments where you seek validation again, moments where you feel pulled toward the same patterns. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you are in the middle of the process. Just don't ignore what you are starting to see clearly. Don't go back to blind attachment after gaining awareness, because now you know. You know what it feels like to depend too much on people. You know how unstable it makes you. You know how quickly things can shift. And you also know, deep down, that your heart is meant for something greater than that. So trust the shift, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels lonely at times. Because what is being removed from your life right now is not your connection to people. It is your unhealthy dependence on them. And what is being built in its place is something far more powerful, a heart that stands firm, even when people come and go, a heart that connects without losing itself, a heart that finally understands where true stability comes from. 3. You are losing interest in people because your dependence is being broken. This shift is subtle at first, but once it starts, you can't ignore it. The same interactions that once felt important now feel unnecessary. The same people you used to prioritize don't hold the same weight in your mind. You find yourself pulling back, not because you hate them, not because they did something terrible, but because something inside you is no longer fully engaged. And that confuses you, because from the outside, nothing dramatic happened. No big conflict, no major betrayal, just a quiet change inside you. And because you don't understand it clearly, you start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're becoming antisocial, emotionally distant, or disconnected from reality. But that's not the truth. What's happening is that your heart is being retrained. Before this, your emotional system was built around people. You woke up thinking about them. You measured your value based on their reactions. You adjusted your behavior to maintain their approval. You stayed in conversations longer than you wanted. You gave energy where it wasn't being returned. You tolerated things that drained you just to keep connection alive. That's not connection. That's dependence. And dependence always comes with a hidden cost. It makes you anxious without realizing it. It makes you overanalyze small changes in behavior. It makes you chase clarity, chase reassurance, chase attention. It keeps your mind occupied with people more than it should be. So, when Allah begins to guide you, one of the first things He disrupts is this system. He doesn't remove people immediately. He removes your attachment to them. He weakens the emotional hooks that kept you tied. He allows you to see things more clearly. You start noticing how certain interactions leave you drained instead of fulfilled. You start realizing how much of your energy was being spent just maintaining connections that were not giving you real peace. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. So naturally, you begin to pull back, not out of hatred, but out of awareness. And this is where the discomfort increases, because now you are not getting the same emotional stimulation you used to rely on. You are not constantly engaged, constantly validated, constantly distracted by others. There is a gap where that stimulation used to be, and that gap feels like loneliness. But again, you need to understand this properly. That feeling is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is being removed. Your heart is being detached from unstable sources of comfort, because as long as your peace depends on people, your peace will always be fragile. One message can lift you, one delay can disturb you, One change in tone can make you overthink for hours. That's not stability. That's emotional dependency. So Allah, in His wisdom, begins to reduce that reliance. He lets you feel the inconsistency of people, so you stop expecting consistency from them. He lets you experience the limits of human connection, so you stop placing unlimited expectations on it. And this realization is not easy, because part of you still wants that connection in the old way. Part of you still wants the attention, the closeness, the emotional intensity. And another part of you is starting to reject it because it no longer feels right. This creates internal conflict. You go back and forth. One moment you feel detached, the next moment you feel the urge to reconnect in the same old way. One moment you feel clear, the next moment you feel confused. That's the transition. You are moving from one emotional system to another, from dependence to balance, from chasing people to understanding people, from needing validation to developing internal stability. But this process requires patience, because if you rush to escape the discomfort, you will rebuild the same unhealthy patterns. You will go back to chasing conversations, forcing interactions, over-investing in people who cannot give you what you're looking for. And then you will feel the same instability again. So instead of reacting quickly, observe what is happening. Notice how your energy feels after different interactions. Notice which connections bring clarity and which bring confusion. Notice where you feel at peace and where you feel drained. This awareness is part of your growth, and at the same time, redirect your focus, because removing dependence on people is only half of the process. The other half is building a stronger connection with Allah. If you remove one source of reliance but don't replace it with something more stable, you will feel empty. But when you start turning toward Allah, even in small ways, that emptiness begins to change. It becomes quieter, more stable, less reactive. You start finding moments of peace that are not tied to anyone's presence or attention, and slowly, your definition of connection changes. You no longer see people as your source of peace. You see them as part of your life, not the center of it. You still care, you still connect, you still maintain relationships, but you do it from a place of balance, not desperation. You give without losing yourself. You engage without depending completely. You value people, but you don't build your identity around them. And that is a much stronger position. Because now, if people come closer, you appreciate it. If they move away, you remain stable. If they change, you are not shaken the same way you used to be. Your foundation has shifted. And that is what this entire process is about. Not isolating you from people, but freeing you from unhealthy attachment to them. So if you feel this change happening, don't fight it. Don't force yourself back into old patterns just because they feel familiar. Familiar does not mean healthy. Trust what you are starting to see. Trust the discomfort. Because what is being removed from your heart right now is what was making you unstable. And what is being built is something far more solid, a heart that connects without depending, a heart that cares without losing control, a heart that finally knows where its real source of peace comes from. For your sins feel heavier now because your awareness has increased. There was a time when you could go through your day without stopping to reflect on what you were doing. You could say things, watch things, engage in things, and then move on without any internal reaction. No pause, no discomfort, no second thought. Now, something has changed. You do something small, and it stays with you. You say something careless, and it echoes in your mind later. You watch something you shouldn't, and it doesn't feel normal anymore. There is a weight attached to it now that wasn't there before. And naturally, you start questioning yourself. Why am I becoming like this? Why am I overthinking everything? Why can't I just be normal like before? But you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, why did it never bother you before? Because that's the real issue. When a heart becomes used to sin, it stops reacting. It becomes comfortable. It normalizes things that should never feel normal. It silences any internal voice that tries to warn it. And over time, it loses sensitivity completely. That is not peace. That is numbness. And numbness is dangerous because it makes a person blind to their own state. So, when Allah begins to guide someone, one of the first changes is this increase in sensitivity. You begin to feel the weight of your actions, not because you suddenly became weak, but because your heart is no longer asleep. The Prophet ﷺ explained that every time a person sins, a mark is placed on the heart. If the person ignores it, continues, and does not return, those marks build up. Eventually, the heart becomes covered. At that point, the person can no longer see clearly. Right and wrong become blurred. Things that should disturb them no longer do. But when a person turns back, when they feel regret, when they make istighfar, those marks are removed. Now think about what you're experiencing. That discomfort you feel after doing something wrong, that heaviness that sits in your chest, that urge to fix it, to correct it, to not repeat it. That is your heart being protected. Allah is not allowing your heart to become sealed. He is keeping it responsive. But this stage is uncomfortable because now you are forced to face yourself. You can't hide behind ignorance anymore. You can't pretend you don't see your own behavior clearly. You can't just move on without reflection. And that creates pressure. You start noticing patterns in yourself. You start recognizing habits that are pulling you away from Allah. You become aware of how easily you slip, how often you make the same mistakes. And if you're not careful, this awareness can overwhelm you. This is where many people fall into a trap. Instead of using this awareness to improve, they let it turn into self-criticism. They start thinking, I keep failing, I keep making mistakes, what's the point? And slowly, that turns into frustration, then into guilt, then into distance from Allah. That is not guidance. That is misuse of guidance. Because guilt in Islam is not meant to paralyze you. It is meant to move you. There is a difference. Healthy guilt points you toward action. It makes you want to seek forgiveness, to correct yourself, to take steps forward. Unhealthy guilt traps you in your mind, makes you feel hopeless, and eventually pushes you to give up. So, when you feel that weight after a mistake, don't stay stuck in it. Respond to it. Make istighfar immediately. Turn back to Allah sincerely. Even if you repeat the mistake later, turn back again. Don't let shaitan convince you that your repeated mistakes cancel your efforts. Because Allah does not look at perfection, He looks at your return. Every time you turn back, you are proving something. You are proving that your heart is still alive. You are proving that you still care. You are proving that you have not given up. And that matters more than you think. Also understand this. As your awareness increases, your standards will rise. Things that once felt small will now feel serious. Things you once ignored will now feel unacceptable. This is not you becoming extreme or unrealistic. This is your heart aligning itself with something higher. You are no longer measuring your actions based on what people accept. You are starting to measure them based on what pleases Allah. And that changes everything. Because people's standards change, depending on culture, environment, and trends. What is acceptable today might not be acceptable tomorrow, but what Allah has set remains consistent. So, as your awareness grows, you start seeing that difference more clearly. You begin to separate what is common from what is correct. And that separation can feel isolating at times. Because you look around and see others continuing without concern. You see people doing the same things you're struggling to avoid. And part of you wonders, why does it feel heavy for me, but not for them? The answer is simple. Not everyone has the same level of awareness. Not everyone has the same sensitivity in their heart. And not everyone has been given the same wake-up call. So, don't compare your internal state to someone else's external behavior. Focus on what Allah is doing with you. Because this increase in awareness is not random. It is preparation. Preparation for a higher level of accountability. Preparation for a stronger connection. Preparation for a different way of living. But you have to handle it correctly. Don't turn it into arrogance, thinking you are better than others. And don't turn it into despair, thinking you are beyond hope. Stay balanced. Recognize your mistakes, but don't define yourself by them. Feel the weight, but don't let it crush you. Use it. Let it push you to improve, even if the steps are small. Let it guide your decisions. Let it shape your habits over time. Because the goal is not to become perfect overnight. The goal is to become conscious, to move from unconscious living to intentional living. And that shift begins the moment your sins no longer feel light. So, if you are feeling this weight now, don't see it as a problem. See it as a sign that your heart is no longer asleep, a sign that Allah is not leaving you in heedlessness, a sign that you are being given the chance to change before it's too late. 5. You are being pulled away from distractions so you can hear yourself. Look at your life honestly. For a long time, it was filled with constant noise, not just physical noise, but mental noise. Your mind was always occupied with something, scrolling, watching, listening, talking, reacting. Even when you were alone, you were not really alone. There was always something filling the space. And because of that, you never had to face yourself directly. You never had to sit with your thoughts long enough to understand them. You never had to question your direction deeply. You never had to confront the parts of your life that didn't make sense. The noise protected you from that. But now, something has changed. That same noise doesn't feel good anymore. You open your phone, and after a few minutes, it feels empty. You watch something, and it doesn't hold your attention the same way. You engage in conversations, and they feel repetitive, shallow, sometimes even exhausting. The things that once distracted you easily no longer have the same effect. And naturally, this creates discomfort, because you're losing the tools you use to escape yourself. And for the first time, you are being left with your own thoughts, without a filter. This is where many people panic. They think something is wrong because they're no longer entertained the same way. They feel restless in silence. They feel exposed. Their thoughts become louder, clearer, more direct. And instead of understanding this shift, they try to force themselves back into the same distractions. They increase the volume, more content, more scrolling, more background noise, anything to avoid that silence. But the more they try, the less effective it becomes. Because once your awareness reaches a certain point, distraction loses its power. And that is not a loss. That is a transition. Allah is removing the noise so you can finally hear what's been buried underneath it. Because the truth is, your mind has been carrying thoughts, questions, and realizations for a long time. But they were always pushed aside, delayed, ignored. There was never enough silence for them to fully surface. Now, that silence is being created, and in that silence, things become clear. You start noticing patterns in your life. You start seeing where your time is going. You start realizing how certain habits are affecting you. You begin to question your direction, your purpose, your priorities. This is not overthinking. This is awareness rising. But awareness feels intense when you're not used to it, because now there is no escape from your own reality. You see yourself more clearly, your strengths, your weaknesses, your inconsistencies. You recognize the gap between who you are and who you want to be. You notice how much time you've spent on things that don't actually benefit you, and that realization can feel heavy, but it is necessary, because you cannot change what you refuse to see, and distraction was helping you avoid seeing. So when Allah pulls you away from that constant noise, He is not trying to make your life empty. He is trying to make it real. He is giving you the chance to sit with yourself long enough to understand what needs to change. But here's the important part. Silence alone is not enough. If you sit in silence without direction, your mind can start drifting into confusion, doubt, even negativity. That's why this stage requires intention. You have to guide your focus. When you find yourself in that quiet space, don't just let your thoughts run uncontrolled. Direct them, reflect with purpose. Ask yourself questions that lead to clarity, not chaos. Where am I heading right now? What am I doing daily that is actually benefiting me? What habits are pulling me away from Allah? What small changes can I start making today? These questions anchor your awareness, and slowly that overwhelming silence becomes structured reflection. And structured reflection leads to action. Because once you see clearly, you can no longer ignore what needs to be done. You start making small adjustments. You reduce things that waste your time. You become more intentional with what you consume. You become more selective with how you spend your energy. And over time, your entire routine begins to shift. But this process is not instant. There will still be moments where you fall back into distraction. Moments where you try to escape that silence again. That's normal. You're breaking a long-standing pattern. What matters is not that you never return to distraction. What matters is that you no longer live in it completely. You start balancing it. You use it when necessary, but you don't depend on it to avoid yourself. And that's a major shift, because now you are not running from your own mind anymore. You are learning to face it. And once you become comfortable with that, something powerful happens. You begin to find a different kind of peace. Not the temporary comfort that comes from distraction, but a deeper calm that comes from clarity. You understand yourself better. You see your direction more clearly. You feel less scattered, less reactive, less dependent on constant input. And that calm is stable, because it doesn't depend on external noise. It comes from within, and more importantly, it opens the door for a stronger connection with Allah. Because when your life is full of noise, there is no space for reflection, no space for sincere dua, no space for presence in your salah. Everything becomes rushed, distracted, superficial. But when that noise is reduced, your connection becomes deeper. You are more present, more aware, more sincere. And that changes the quality of your entire relationship with Allah. So if you feel yourself being pulled away from distractions right now, don't fight it. Don't rush to fill every moment with noise again. Learn to sit in that quiet. Learn to observe your thoughts without running from them. Learn to guide your focus instead of letting it control you. Because this silence is not empty. It is full of clarity. And if you use it correctly, it will reshape the way you live, the way you think, and the way you connect with Allah. This is not boredom. This is the beginning of awareness without distractions. And that is something most people never reach. 6. You feel a strange pull towards Allah, even when you resist it. There are moments when it happens without warning. You could be busy, distracted, doing something completely normal, and suddenly your mind shifts. A thought enters that wasn't there before. A quiet reminder. A feeling that pulls your attention away from everything else. You think about Allah, not casually, not in passing, but in a way that feels deeper, more direct. You start thinking about your life, your purpose, your direction. You feel an urge to make dua, to pray properly, to to fix something you've been delaying. And for a moment, everything becomes clear. But then, something else happens. You hesitate. You tell yourself, "I'll do it later." You delay the prayer a little longer. You ignore the thought. You go back to what you were doing, and the feeling fades. But it doesn't disappear completely. It comes back again. Maybe later that day. Maybe the next day. Maybe at night when everything is quiet. That same pull returns. That same reminder. That same feeling that you should turn back, that you should take it seriously, that you shouldn't ignore it. And this cycle repeats. This is one of the clearest signs that something real is happening inside you. Because not everyone experiences this. There are people who go through their entire day without a single moment of reflection, no pause, no internal reminder, no sense of urgency about their relationship with Allah. They are fully absorbed in dunya, and nothing interrupts that flow. But you are being interrupted again and again. And you need to understand what that means. This is not random thought. This is not your imagination. This is a form of invitation. Allah is turning your attention back toward Him. Not once, not twice, repeatedly. And every time you feel that pull, you are being given a choice. Respond or ignore. And this is where things become serious. Because guidance is not just about what you feel. It is about how you respond to what you feel. Many people feel moments of clarity. Many people feel the urge to change. Many people recognize what they should be doing, but they keep delaying. They keep pushing it to later. They keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect mood, the perfect situation. And that later never comes. Because the more you ignore that pull, the weaker it becomes. Not because Allah stops calling you, but because your heart becomes less responsive. The first time you ignore it, it feels strong. The second time, a little less. The third time, even less. Until eventually, you barely notice it anymore. And that is dangerous. Because losing that sensitivity means losing the opportunity to respond easily. So when you feel that pull, don't treat it casually. That moment is not guaranteed to repeat forever. It is a window, a small opening where your heart is soft, your mind is clear, and your direction is visible. And what you do in that moment matters more than you realize. If you respond, even in a small way, you strengthen that connection. You make wudu, you pray, you make dua, you say istighfar, you take one step. And that one step makes the next step easier. But if you ignore it, you train yourself to ignore it again. You build a habit of delay. And delay is one of the biggest traps, because it feels harmless. You tell yourself, "I'm not rejecting it, I'm just postponing it." But in reality, postponement is a slow form of rejection. It keeps you in the same place while making you feel like you're moving. So be honest with yourself. How many times have you felt that urge and done nothing? How many times have you said, "later," and never came back to it? That pattern is what you need to break, because the value of this pull is not in how strong it feels. It's in how quickly you respond to it. And understand something deeper. This pull is not always going to feel emotional or intense. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, almost easy to ignore. A simple thought like, "I should pray now." A small reminder like, "I should stop this." A brief realization like, "This isn't right." These moments are easy to dismiss, but they are not small. They are opportunities. And the more consistently you respond to them, the more your entire life starts to shift. Your habits begin to change. Your priorities begin to adjust. Your awareness becomes more stable. Your connection with Allah becomes more consistent. Not because you made one big decision, but because you kept responding to small moments. That's how real change happens. Not through one emotional breakthrough, but through repeated, intentional responses to guidance. So stop waiting for a dramatic transformation. Stop waiting to feel ready. You will never feel completely ready. You act, and readiness follows. You respond, and clarity increases. You move, and direction becomes stronger. That's the process. And right now, you are in the middle of it. You are feeling the pull. You are recognizing the signs. You are aware of what needs to change. Now the only thing left is your response. Will you keep delaying, or will you finally act? Because this is not just about one moment. This is about the pattern you are building. A pattern of responding to Allah, or a pattern of ignoring Him. And that pattern will shape everything that comes next. 7. This is not the end state. This is the beginning of accountability. This is where most people misunderstand everything. They reach this stage. They feel the shift, the awareness, the pull, the discomfort, the clarity, and they start thinking they've arrived somewhere. They start believing they are now different, maybe even ahead of others. They feel like they've reached a higher level. That mindset will destroy everything, because what you are experiencing right now is not the destination. It is the beginning of responsibility. Before this point, you could say you didn't know. You could say you were distracted, unaware, careless. You could move through life without thinking deeply, without reflecting seriously, without questioning your direction. But now, that excuse is gone. You see things clearly now. You recognize what is right and what is wrong. You feel the difference between what brings you closer to Allah and what pulls you away. You are aware of your habits, your patterns, your weaknesses, and that awareness changes your position completely. Because in Islam, knowledge and awareness are not just blessings, they are responsibilities. The more you see, the more you are accountable for. This is why guidance is heavy, because it doesn't just make you feel better, it places a weight on you. A weight of expectation, a weight of action, a weight of response. You are no longer someone drifting through life unconsciously. You are someone who has been shown something, and once you are shown, you are expected to act. This is where the real test begins. Not in feeling the signs, but in what you do after recognizing them. Many people feel everything you have felt. They experience the same discomfort, the same clarity, the same pull toward Allah. But they stop there. They stay in the phase of awareness without moving into the phase of action. They listen, they reflect, they think, but they don't change. And over time, that awareness fades, because unused guidance weakens. So understand this clearly. Feeling guided is not enough. You have to live guided, and that requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires consistency in things that are not always easy. Praying when you don't feel like it. Avoiding things you still feel drawn to. Controlling your tongue, your eyes, your time. Making decisions that align with your values, even when they are inconvenient. This is where most people fall, because they want the feeling of guidance without the effort of living it. They want clarity without responsibility. But that's not how it works. Allah shows you the truth and then watches what you do with it. So don't let this moment turn into pride. Don't start thinking, I'm different now, I've reached something, because that kind of thinking blinds you again. It makes you comfortable. It stops your growth. Instead, let this moment humble you. Realize that Allah chose to show you something that many people don't see. Realize that you were pulled out of a state of distraction and given awareness. And instead of feeling superior, feel responsible. Because being shown the truth and not acting on it is worse than never seeing it at all. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need to become perfect instantly. But you do need to start moving. Small, consistent steps. Pray on time, even if your focus is not perfect. Reduce one bad habit, even if you can't eliminate it completely. Increase one good action, even if it feels small. Because consistency builds structure, and structure builds stability. And stability is what keeps you grounded in guidance. Also, understand this. There will be moments where you struggle, moments where you feel weak again, moments where you slip, moments where you feel like you're going backward instead of forward. That does not mean the process has failed. It means you are human. The difference now is not that you never fall. The difference is that you don't stay down the same way. You recognize it faster, you feel it deeper, you return quicker. And that cycle, fall, reflect, return, is part of your growth. So don't let your mistakes convince you that you've lost your direction. What matters is not the mistake itself. What matters is your response to it. Do you ignore it and continue, or do you turn back and correct it? That response defines your path. And over time, your responses shape your identity. You become someone who returns to Allah, or someone who keeps delaying. And that choice is being made daily, in small moments. So don't underestimate this stage. You are not at the end. You are at the beginning of living with awareness, the beginning of being accountable for your choices, the beginning of building a life that is aligned with what you now understand. And this stage requires seriousness, because you now know enough to change. And that means you are expected to try. Not perfectly, but sincerely. Not instantly, but consistently. Because guidance is not proven by what you feel. It is proven by what you do after you feel it. So take this seriously. Because this moment, this awareness, this clarity is not just a feeling, it is a responsibility that will shape everything that comes next. If you've recognized yourself in these lessons, then stop pretending this is just another video, just another message, just another moment that will pass. It's not. This is a turning point. Right now, you are aware in a way you were not before. You can see things you used to ignore. You can feel things you were once numb to. You can recognize the direction your life is going and where it needs to go. And that awareness is a gift, but it is also a test, because not everyone who is shown the truth chooses to follow it. Some people feel everything you felt today and then go right back to their old habits. They delay, they ignore, they convince themselves they have more time, they treat this moment lightly, and slowly that clarity fades. That sensitivity weakens, that pull disappears, until they are back where they started, or even worse. So don't lie to yourself. You don't know how many chances you will get like this. You don't know how long your heart will stay this open. You don't know when this feeling will come again, or if it will come again at all. What you do know is what you feel right now. And what you feel right now is real. So act on it. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. Pray when you feel the urge, not when it becomes convenient. Make istighfar when you feel the weight, not when you forget it. Walk away from what feels wrong, even if it's difficult. Take one step toward Allah, even if it feels small. Because small steps, taken sincerely, change everything. And understand something clearly. You are not being asked to become perfect. You are being asked to respond, to move, to try, to return, again and again. That is what builds a real connection with Allah. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect version of yourself. Start with the version of you that is aware right now, because that awareness is already enough to begin. This is your moment, and if you take it seriously, it can change the direction of your entire life. But if you ignore it, it will pass, and you will wish you didn't.